This is a direct assault on the Platinum card, and I think it's awesome for us as consumers. Today we're looking at the Platinum card and the Venture X and comparing them across 7 different factors. They're 2 different cards that have different fighting styles, but also with the same end goal of being the go-to travel card when you think about travel, and especially when you visit the airport. Before we dive into all of this though, big favor, give this a thumbs up, and if you are new here, consider subscribing because we talk about niche topics like this. Also, remember to drink some water. Let's do the weigh-in and look at the annual fees. The Platinum comes in at a pretty hefty $695, and if you compare it to the Venture X, that's a pretty nimble $395. I would argue though, if you have reasonable liquidity, that the annual fee doesn't matter, it's more about the effective annual fee. So here, let's look at the annual fee minus the reasonable credits you can value, and that's the effective number. We can then use that effective number to see if the card makes sense for us based off either the multipliers or the other perks we get like lounge access. For the purpose of this, let's focus on the permanent benefits because sometimes these cards do end up adding limited time ones which are not as helpful. For the Venture X, you get a $300 travel credit and also 10,000 bonus miles every anniversary of you having the card. So for example, if you sign up for the card now, you end up getting 10,000 miles in 12 months, you get another 10,000 in every subsequent 12 months. At a minimum, 10,000 miles is worth $100 in travel. And if you want to do aspirational stuff and do the transfer partner stuff, then that's about 2 cents per point, if not substantially more. So that's first and business class, but for our purpose, let's just use the $100 number to keep it simple. In the long run, you have $395 minus 300 minus 100, which means that they're paying you $5 to keep the card. As long as you do at least one trip for that $300 travel credit, then you're good to go, or pay for a trip for a friend or a family member. The 10,000 bonus miles stays on your account, so that's not that big of a deal. In comparison, the Platinum card is super complicated, and I've done 10-minute videos looking at each of the credits. For the purpose of this, I think your best bet is to go through our calculator on the site, so if you Google AskSebby Platinum calculator, it should pop up. In theory, you get $1,400 in credits, but for some of them, you're probably going to value them at 0. I'd recommend being a bit more conservative with the values, so if you're someone who's on the fence or something, then maybe pull that number down. So for example, for my parents who live in suburbia, they don't really use Uber, they don't really use Uber Eats, I'd recommend them valuing that at 0 or maybe 50% of its value. In comparison, I probably use Uber a bit too much, so even if I don't have credit, I'll still be using it if I need to. If I had to crown a winner for this section, I think it has to be the Venture X because the card pays for itself with relative ease and it's pretty simple to use the credits. You don't have that many hoops to jump through. In theory, if you live the perfect life, then maybe the Platinum card even pays you to keep the card, but I think that's not most of us. For us, we're probably looking to either break even or pay maybe $100 or $200 in effective annual fee to get the card for the other perks. So that's point 1 going to the Venture X, and we have 6 more to go. But if you are someone who's rushing off to learn more about the card and you want to support the channel, we do have links on our website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, but it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. Moving into factor number 2, we have lounge access. With the Venture X, you get access to the Capital One lounges, and you also get a Party Pass card that can be used at both the Party Pass restaurants and the Party Pass lounges. The secret power is that you can add up to 4 authorized users, also known as AUs, for free, and they also get their own Party Pass card and access to Capital One lounges. For the Platinum card, you can also add AUs, but whether you add 1, 2, or 3, it's going to be $175. Getting into a tiny rabbit hole, there is a gold authorized user card, but that does not get you lounge benefits. It also doesn't get you Forex back, similar to the real gold card. Despite all of this, I would argue that the Platinum card packs quite a punch for lounges, and I have done that in prior videos. To summarize a 10-minute video in about 30 seconds, you get access to Centurion lounges, Delta Sky Clubs when you fly Delta, Escape lounges which are more helpful for smaller airports, Party Pass, Plaza Premium that just left Party Pass, and also other niche ones such as Lufthansa. Be aware that the Party Pass for the Platinum does not get you access to the Party Pass restaurants, so that's one of the disadvantages. Or I guess it technically gets you into it, but you're also paying money for that visit, meaning that it just doesn't make sense. Also, because I decided to do unnecessary math, Delta represents about 18.8 to 20.4% of all North American flights. This includes Air Canada as well as Mexico, so maybe the numbers are a bit higher if you're only domestic. As much as I liked the Capital One lounge in Dallas when I visited, it's only one lounge of maybe 3, and the other 2 are DC and Denver, which have not opened yet. If you compare this to the Centurion lounge, they have a huge international network, and even just in the US, you have 11 of the 13 major airports, the busiest ones in the US, either having or will have in the future a Centurion lounge. So this includes Atlanta all the way down to JFK, with JFK numbers being a little skewed from 2020. The two that are getting the short end of the stick are going to be Chicago, which somehow always gets the short end of the stick, and Orlando. I feel like if you're someone who travels with any regularity, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, it's pretty easy to justify the Platinum card. If you're someone out of Dallas, Denver, or DC, which all happen to be Ds, then maybe you can make the argument, but I think for most people, you would have to give the point to the Platinum card. Moving to point number 3, we have multipliers. I think it's actually kind of funny that we're only talking about multipliers now. For other cards, they would be front and center. For the Venture X, you get 10x miles on hotels and car rentals booked through Capital One Travel. You also get 5x miles for flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles back for everything else. There is a bit of play with the flights, and we'll talk about that and cover it in the Superpower section. The Platinum gets you 5x back on flights booked either directly with the airline or through American Express travel. Kind of funny, but they specify that you only get 5x back on up to $500,000 in spend per calendar year, meaning that someone is probably pushing up towards that limit. I guess that gives you an idea of who their target audience is. You also get 5x on prepaid hotels booked through AmexTravel.com and 1x back everywhere else. For flights, I would say the Platinum wins because they're still getting that 5x back even if you don't book through their platform. I feel like that's how I book most of my flights because dealing with an online travel agency when you have to cancel when things change is not fun. Maybe I'm crazy, but there's definitely been times where I've wanted to do a change and have been told that they can't touch the ticket. I have to contact someone else. Car rentals goes to Capital One. Hotels is an interesting one because it depends on how you travel. I think Capital One wins for normal people and if you just care more about the points, but if you want to get upgrades, if you're booking through Fine Hotel and Resorts anyways, then I think that's a bit better for American Express. We'll talk more about FHR in a later section. Although there's a lot of similarities, I would argue that at least the Venture X can stand by itself. At a minimum, you're getting 2x miles back for everything, which is the baseline you're looking for as a catch-all card. The Platinum, on the flip side, is very much a keep at home to book travel or bring with you when you travel to get into lounges card versus something that you would actively use for other transactions. For most people who have the Platinum card, you also need to have the Gold card and maybe either the Green or the Blue Business Plus in order to really make it work. In effect, the Capital One card can stand by itself compared to American Express, which benefits from a team. So right now, Capital One 2 points, American Express 1 point. Moving into the nitty-gritty of insurance and other coverages. I'll keep this part pretty fast because I can tell you're falling asleep and you're about to change the channel. For the most part, it's going to be similar or the same thing, maybe with different terms in terms of limits and other rules. As always, double check these before you rely on them. I would say that there's two main differences, primary CDW and the ease of use. So for the Platinum card, you don't get car rental insurance. You can pay for it separately and that's fine, but it does not come by default on the card. On the flip side, the Venture X card gets you primary CDW, meaning that you don't necessarily need to buy it from the car rental place. This can easily save you $25 per day, depending on if you care about it. Reminder that if you don't have your own coverage, then secondary is effectively primary. The second thing is ease of use, and I think the Platinum card is a lot easier to do claims because American Express actually owns the insurance company that does all of it. You still have to send in stuff, which is annoying, but I think the fact that they own it means that they want to approve things if they can. In contrast, for the other issuers, they outsource this into a third party, and third parties by default don't really want to approve you if they don't need to because they're losing money for each approval. If you put yourself in the head of an insurance company, I would argue that their incentives are to not approve if they don't need to. Also for benefits like return protection, I would say that American Express wins if you know what you're doing. Given all of this though, I would call this a tie because you have both sides doing something different. Moving into number 5, we have Superpowers, which is going to be a very big frothy one. There's a lot going on, so try to keep your pants on. With the Venture X, we already talked about the 4 authorized user thing, so not going to cover that here. I would still consider that part of the Superpower though. Another awesome one is that they have price drop protection on flights booked through their site. So when you book on Capital One Travel, they'll tell you whether to book now or to wait at a later time to book because it might be cheaper. If you book now or when they tell you to book and the price drops, then they're going to refund you the difference. Be extremely careful with this because of the language. You have coverage as long as you book a flight when we recommend and the price drops afterwards. My fear for this one is that on the surface it sounds pretty good, but who's to say that they don't just recommend less flights in the future? Another really cool benefit is that they price match if you find an airfare, hotel, or car rental within 24 hours that's cheaper. They'll refund the difference for eligible sites such as Orbitz, Bookings.com, Expedia, as well as Travelocity. The big issue is that for a lot of these groups, the pricing is going to be the same. Another factor is that for car rentals, you can generally just not use it and that's fine. They don't really take the money up front. For hotels, you generally have 24 to 48 hours until you have to arrive to cancel depending on the property. For airfare, you generally can cancel within 24 hours and they're going to refund you. That's pretty much just part of booking flights. So yes, it sounds good on the surface, but is it really adding value? With the Platinum card, you have a ton of different benefits. We'll start off with the Final Tone Resorts program. This gets you a 1-level upgrade, breakfast for free, late checkout, and also a 100 to 125 credit for the property or for dining. I generally find this super valuable for Vegas because a lot of hotels will try to get you out of the door by 11 a.m. and they actually let you stay until 4 p.m. Hotel Collection is the little brother to this program, and I think it's also fine depending on where you stay. One perk that people really hype up is the concierge, which I think is fine, but to me, it's been mostly a glorified virtual assistant. Your mileage may vary depending on what you want to spend and what you want to do. Of the times I've called, they've pretty much just Googled for stuff, and I can do that myself. Even when making reservations, if they don't have a relationship, they're pretty much just entering it on the online form. When they do have a relationship though, then that's a lot more useful because they can get you inventory that doesn't exist online, and oftentimes when you book through them, you end up getting free dessert if it's a special occasion. I'm pretty sure that's just American Express footing the bill for your dessert. It's also very good if they have a relationship for an event, so they can get you tickets that you otherwise can't get, or sometimes they'll have American Express seating, which is generally a little bit closer for the same price as the seats that are a little bit behind. So not too drastic, but it's just nice to have. There are some stories about the Platinum and Centurion Concierge going to get sand for people and just crazy stuff, but you're paying for that person's time and for them to go do that. That's not for free. If I wanted someone to go line up at the Apple store, then I can pay a TaskRabbit for that. I don't need to go through American Express. The Platinum card also tends to have a lot of other intangible benefits if you are someone that likes to go to events. So for a lot of concerts, oftentimes they'll have their own special line. For certain stadiums like Barclays, you have your own entrance. If you're someone that doesn't go to too many events, then maybe it doesn't matter, but I feel like it's just one of those things that can add up if you are out every week or every other week. Even if you're not, sometimes it's nice to feel like a VIP. If you go to super fancy events, then they also generally have pop-ups, so things like Wimbledon as well as Art Basel. But for a lot of the events, you still do need to pay. So for this one, I like the idea of the Capital One benefits, but I question the efficacy of them. I feel like they're either going to have very little real-life value, or they're going to be something that gets aggressively nerfed. For the American Express ones, they're either going to love it or hate it, and I would argue that some of those benefits are also on other American Express cards. You don't necessarily need the Platinum. To me though, given American Express's partnerships and foothold in pretty much everything, I think they have to win this category. Moving on to number 6, we have the Venture X giving you Hertz President Circle, and that's pretty much it. The Platinum card gets you a ton of benefits, so 2 hotel ones and 2 car rental ones. You get Hertz Gold Plus and also National Emerald Club Executive. In terms of hotels, you get Marriott Bonvoy Gold and also Hilton Gold. If you never stay at larger chains, then maybe it's a toss-up, but I think for most people, there are going to be some times where it makes sense, given the location or just given the prices. Also, by having those statuses, it makes it easier to match over to other programs if and when you need to. I think the Platinum card wins in a landslide here. Last one, number 7, is going to be the value of the points. To be fair, Capital One has done a lot of their program. Back in the day when I started YouTube, I crapped on their program a lot because it didn't really have much upside. It was flat value and you knew what it was. They did not have transfer partners. Since then, they've added transfer partners, which were initially not that competitive, and now they're very competitive. If anything, Capital One has shown us that they're willing to change. On the flip side, American Express just has some transfer partners that Capital One does not, such as ANA as well as Virgin Atlantic. Both of those programs are some of the best ones if you're looking to get value and also, relatively speaking, minimize the number of points you're spending. It's still a ton of points for first in business, but it feels a lot more affordable compared to some other programs. Capital One also has a few unique ones, but I feel like they're less impactful when you start studying the game. Still though, I would say that this is a toss-up because it just depends on where you want to go. If you don't want to go to Japan, then Virgin Atlantic and ANA aren't going to be that helpful. Look at where you want to go, what flies there, how many points you need, and what's the retail price to make sure that you're getting value. So if you look at the scoreboard, the Venture X has 2 points, while the Platinum card has 3, and then there's 2 that are in the middle that are a toss-up. To me at least, the Venture X is a direct assault on the Platinum card, and I think it's awesome for us as consumers. This is their first go at it, and they're probably going to keep iterating. The more competition there is, the better it is for us. If you're early in your career and you don't care about a lot of the other perks, then I think the Capital One Venture X just does a lot more better, and it acts as that all-in-one card. If you're traveling a lot more, you care about status, lounge access, and everything else there, then the Platinum card is pretty hard to beat. In 2 years, the landscape might change because if Capital One adds substantially more lounges, then the dynamics are going to be different. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website AskSebby.com and also down below in the description box. My question for you is who wins? So given your scoreboard, because it's probably different than mine, who's winning which categories? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. If you're still watching, give me a tooth emoji down below and I'll try to heart it, mostly because I have toothpaste on the table and also because the Venture X card does have some teeth. I think this is from unpacking from our trips, but I don't know why we didn't just put it back in the bathroom. Mandy's giving me some weird looks and I think we have to go eat, but hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.